So I've been contemplating death a lot recently. I'm not sure in like a morbid sense, but it's just something I've been thinking about. So I figured I'd want to just sit down and record my thoughts on it. During the this past semester, I had a class that talked extensively about like death and dementia, and it was really interesting because I think it challenged my conception, or it challenged my worldview in a way that I'd never really faced. My worldview has of course changed over time, but I think this is the first time where I was like really challenged on it. Essentially, we did a thought experiment, or it's like an actual real life case that happened. So essentially, there's this woman who has dementia, and she has this advance directive to not receive any medical care, no matter how slight. And then she gets dementia, and then she needs like pills and some basic treatment. And the doctors argue, based on the advance directive from whenever she was well and had a sound state of mind, that she should be let go. And and her nephew, who was her legal guardian at that time, was vehemently against losing this woman because she seemed really happy, and even the doctors acknowledged that she was happy, but her advance directive said to not treat her. I don't think there's any scenario where I can really justify killing her or even letting her die. And I think that killing and letting die are just, one step away. They're one action away from being the same thing. That challenged my worldview because I don't know how to really understand why someone would want to die like that. She couldn't have known that what it would be like to have dementia, and it would have been really difficult for her to even try to conceptualize and predict that, because she simply didn't. So, stripping away her life after that, I don't know, I don't understand the logic behind it. And I guess the arguments that we looked into, there of many, there was the argument of autonomy, and the fact that her bodily autonomy stopped whenever she got dementia. And since then, she could not make her own choices. And the best way to make a choice for her would be her past self and not anyone around her, because that would be granting her autonomy. And I believe in bodily autonomy. I believe the choice, the ability to make choices for yourself. But I do not know to what ends. I do not know if I could ever justify having bodily autonomy over the harm of the self. Even if it's crazy. I can't see in shades of gray about this. Like, we brought up an example of someone suffering, and like torture was the example, because that's like extreme physical hurt. And I understand why someone would want to be put out of their misery, so to speak. But that kind of beats my conception of why I live. And the reason that I'm alive is to simply exist. We read an excerpt from Thomas Nagel, and he talks about that life is inherently good because you get to experience things, and experience is good, and living therefore is good, and death is bad. If that logic fails, and let's say that there is a breaking point, there's like, where do you draw the line for like putting someone out of their misery? Because then we go into a bunch of complicated scenarios where someone is suffering, either be it physically or emotionally, and it gets really messy. And I hate that. I hate how messy it gets, because it kind of breaks down like, I guess, my reason for living. I very much would like to follow absurdism in the sense that I exist, there is no inherent meaning to life, and I will enjoy it while I can. I think that is, by itself, it's how I live my life. It's why I'm alive. But if you can't make happy, so to speak, then what are you left with? The most influential, I would say, absurdist, Albert Camus, that concludes that you would kill yourself if you couldn't make happy. And I think my justification for living is under the guise that you can always make happy. Because if I couldn't, then I'd not be alive. Then there'd be really no reason for life. Moving back to the dementia example, there was this other article about this woman, I think her name was Margot, and she is a real-life story, and she ended up getting dementia and resolving to kill herself whenever she couldn't have meaningful experiences anymore, whenever she couldn't pursue her goals and dreams and have a meaningful life. I hated that story. I hated it so much because I could not understand the reason why she would do that. I mean, it goes into great detail about how she loses some very simple like, she forgets where she is a lot of the time. She forgets like food as a concept and like eating, and like she slowly forgets like reading and piano and a bunch of other things that bring her joy, essentially becoming a shell of a person. But even then, I don't understand why she couldn't just be happy. She had a grandson, and she admitted that she loved spending time with him and loved just having time with him, but she had already resolved to kill herself. I don't think that any amount of my dignity matters when I can just exist. Dignity is a strange concept because Margot wanted to die with her dignity intact. That is one of the primary reasons that she decided to go through with it. I don't understand why you would give up your life for dignity. The reason that I have my dreams is so that I can leave behind a legacy, and ergo I would have dignity. So I understand it to a point, because legacy and dignity are intertwined, and I want to have a legacy. But I really cannot understand why someone would hinge their life on their dignity. I don't know. Am I saying that if someone's old and hurting that they shouldn't be able to kill themselves? I don't know. As of now, I think that answer would be yes. I do not have much experience with that sort of situation, so I do not want to speak on it like I do. My only reference for a situation like that is whenever we had to put down my dog. I don't think I could have made the decision to put her down. She was hurting really bad for the last 6 months of her life. But I don't know. Maybe that makes me selfish. But I think that you can boil life down into its simplest things and still enjoy it. Suicide scares me because I don't have a clear answer as to why it's bad. I have the Nagel argument that life is inherently good, so death is bad. But when life isn't good, and you're not having a good time in life, then what makes suicide bad? There's the argument that you'd be leaving behind people and hurting them in a way. But if you're gone, you're gone. It's not like you can feel shame for those actions. It's not like you can be punished. I wish I could just be at peace with the concept of death. I hate having it as a motivator for me to get out of bed and do certain tasks and want certain things. It's not the only thing motivating me to do things, because I think a lot of what I do is more so for enjoyment and living life rather than fearing death. But I'd be lying if I said that it wasn't a contributor to just keeping moving. I've long held the belief that death gives life meaning because it's like a conclusion. It's like a end to your book, end to your story. And I think that is what kind of gives me peace with death. I think that I can make this video because I'm at a healthy mental space right now, at least healthier than I have been in the past couple months. And so I think it's something that I wanted to talk about, just because when I am in a worse mental state, I want to have a reminder of my life philosophy, that I don't think there's a good reason to take my own life, nor do I think it's good to waste it away.